everyone. Welcome back. You're still with us here on the C Morning Show, and as we approach the halfway point of our program, it's almost time for our first discussion of the morning. I say almost because there's some details that we would like to share with you first.
Yes.
As Indonesia's standards agency, BSN, has announced measures to standardize electric bikes.
Yes, the Director of Standard Development for Mechanics, Energy, Infrastructure and Technology at BSN, Iriana Margahayu, has recently said that the plan seeks to address the growing trend of battery theft happening in Indonesia.
I was not aware this was happening because I know there's a shared
Yes.
battery process when it comes to online rides and things of that sort. Now, the measures will include hearings with manufacturers as well as reviews of cases.
Yes, the head of the Business and Tariff Division of the Association of River, Lake and Ferry Transport Entrepreneurs, Rahmati Kardianto, had also previously highlighted fire incidents involving transported EVs, including the most recent happening at the Merak port. What's going on here with the batteries,
So
eh?
according to this, the investigations, the
Yeah.
details that were released from this was there was a short circuit. It wasn't an actual EV that was in use. It was one that was being transported in a cargo box. And it had actually caught on fire, and after some investigation, they found out that was the source of the fire. But I'm a little more concerned about batteries being stolen for shared, because they have this system called battery swap. So the online rides can keep going. What they do
Right.
is when they run out of charge, they swap it at a station
right.
for a fully charged one. So there's a bunch of
Right.
batteries always on charge, and apparently
Yes.
some of these are getting stolen. There you go.
And then sold?
I assume so. I'm not really sure. This is all very new
it's
to me
like,
as well.
I know, it's like,
The
are
black
they sort of
market
like
for-
taken apart or something and then sold? Anyways, I mean, let's talk about safety standard, right, Paul?
Yes, indeed. So today we're going to discuss more about safety standards of electric vehicles right here in Indonesia.
Yes.
And joining us in the studio this morning is the Deputy Chairman of BSN for Standard Development, Pak Hendro Kusumo. Good morning, Pak Hendro. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
Good morning, Pa.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the standards that BSN has established. So far, there's apparently 38 different standards for EVs. So can you tell us a little bit more about them? What do they cover, and what are they based on?
Okay, thank you for opportunity for BSN in explaining how BSN can support the ecosystem of electric vehicle. First, we would like to inform you that the standardization actually is based on the consensus. So it's mean that when the standard, the objective of the standard, it's mean that the scope standard, whether for safety, for performance, for whatever, is according to the scope of the standard. So 38 standard dealing with the electric vehicle is one of them dealing with the component, dealing with the what we call it battery, and so on. We trying to provide the standard according to the regulatory need. It's mean that when the regulator would like to impose the standard as a mandatory standard, let's say like that, then we develop the standard to support them.
So we're saying regulator is as in the government, like for
Correct.
the Ministry of Transport, they need this to be regulated to a certain standard,
Yes.
and then you will decide what that standard
Yes.
should be.
Just make it easy understanding that if we talk about the regulatory framework,
Yes.
dealing with a whole vehicle, we have Ministry of Transportation as a regulator who impose the regulation dealing with the vehicle type approval. But dealing with the component of automotive, including the battery, swap battery, and whatever, we have the Ministry of Industry. Something like that.
Wow.
Okay.
So several ministries are actually involved in
Correct.
this, in the standardization. So I'm sure you're very much aware of what happened in Merak Port, Pa.
Of course.
An EV suddenly exploded and was caught on fire or something. So, to what extent have electric vehicles in Indonesia met BSN standards then, when you see incidents like this happening?
Actually, at international level, we have what we call it the United Nations regulation dealing with the dangerous substance. There are the regulation that might adopted to the what we call it the every countries who would like to use it as the national arrangement. But in the same of again regulation. The question is whether Indonesia have the regulation or we have do we have adopted the international regulation from UNECE dealing with the transportation of the dangerous substance, including the battery.
Sure.
So I'm not really sure whether we have the regulation.
Okay, I mean, just to give an example, we've heard of, and whenever we travel, they ask if we carry power banks and we need
Yes.
electric cigarettes. That's a good example of a dangerous
Yes.
item that needs to be carried and has to meet certain regulations.
Yes,
it
correct.
can't be too overpowered, for example. So when it comes to BSN sets the standards according to what the government needs, according to the consumer needs. But you're not the one that enforces these regulations
Correct.
as well. So how does this usually work when the government, does the government have to individually decide what needs to be enforced? For example, when it comes to battery safety, it is the Ministry of Industry that has to.
According to the international best practice,
Yes.
every mandatory standard usually dealing with the safety for human, for environment, for whatever, then the government through the relevant ministry will impose the standard as mandatory standard.
Okay.
But instead of that, every standard actually is a voluntary standard. So the push is coming from society. When the standard mandate come from society,
Yeah.
it's mean that the producer and then the manufacturer and whatever, they will be, fulfill the standard, but voluntary, because the consumer need something like that.
That's kind of
Yeah.
odd, isn't it? Like it's actually us that's kind of deciding.
Yeah,
as a
giving
society.
feedback.
Right.
It's like, hey, we need this.
But then
Give it to us.
again, we are the ones that are consuming these goods. And
Correct.
we're the ones that have to be protected as well.
Yeah,
Right.
of course. So what are exactly the safety standards for Indonesian electric vehicle that we have currently in the country?
That's why BSN always, support the regulatory.
Yeah.
Let's say every safety aspect as the reason, whatever the regulation exists is based on the safety aspect. So it's mean the question is, do they need the standard? Or the government through the regulation, to the regulatory institution, government will impose through their regulation, no need to use standard, or regulation using the standard. We call it good regulatory standardization, good regulatory practices.
Okay.
Which mean that good regulatory practices need good standardization practices.
Of course.
That is,
Goes
a
hand in
collaboration
Yes.
between the national standard body and the government of what we call it regulatory authority.
Okay, now in your opinion, I mean, me myself personally, week after week, I'm seeing new brands of electric
Correct.
motorcycles, electric cars all the time, and that's good for our economy. But how many of these, in what you've observed so far, have met all of the standards according to what they're saying?
Again, let's say about the regulation exists here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every vehicle come to Indonesia, whether manufactured in Indonesia or imported from another countries,
Yes.
Yeah.
must comply with the vehicle type approval.
So if it has a license plate with that blue strip on it, it likely already has passed all of the approvals then.
I'm not quite sure. The process must come through the Ministry of Transportation first, and there is some process there to ensure whether just recognition the report from what we call it from the origin country or another process.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, that's true, right? I mean, we do have to. There's a certain level of trust that needs to go into this process from every stage as well. For example, if the manufacturer is from a different country, we have to kind of believe that what they're showing us, according to their statistics and data and their parts and everything, is up to par, because we don't have the factory here to test all of these things. Right?
Yeah, it's almost
see
like
what
you have to do your own homework by Googling it one by one,
Yeah,
right?
almost.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, and a lot of these are new companies as well.
Exactly. That's
Actually, the other important thing is after sales.
Okay.
So
Right.
you might know about the problem about emission, about whatever.
Yes.
After the vehicle delivered to the customer, then up to the customer.
Yes.
You can imagine if a customer made a modification, change,
Oh,
and
dear.
whatever.
Yeah, which often happens.
In this case,
Yeah.
maybe they will not comply again with the vehicle
standard.
type approval
Exactly.
because make modification, whatever.
It's not part of the. It's not. It doesn't meet the original specifications.
Yes,
Once
correct.
you change something to it, for example,
Yeah.
you want to spec it up so the batteries last longer.
Exactly.
And you're a pretty good engineer, so you start tinkering with it. Well, that's out of the regulatory standards that have already been set here. It
Yes.
no longer qualifies. You
That another maybe the problem. If we, in some news informing in the tollway in the street, so many vehicle, burning.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's maybe because just electricity modification
Right. Gotcha.
because of the sound system or
Yeah.
whatever. Then
People are putting in bigger speakers in their car. I
Correct.
want a better sound system. I want extra screens, but that's actually making the battery heat up more. We don't know, but that is certainly a possibility.
It
right?
is certainly a
And
possibility.
a lot of these newer brands, they likely don't have a lot of dealer and service centers here.
Correct.
So people are
Yes.
likely doing it aftermarket as well.
That's true.
Yes.
So, how important is the safety standards for Indonesian electric vehicles? And if it seems that there is this loophole where people can just modify it anyway, and they will never get reprimanded for the potential danger. So I'm just trying to figure out.
What's the safety net you mean, right? For
Yeah.
that to happen.
Yeah.
so again, as a BSN, we talk about how can standardization and conformity assessment can support the regulatory regime
Okay.
imposed by the relevant ministry. So if we talk at international level, we have to where I don't know whether you already know about the what we call quality, national quality infrastructure.
Right.
So it's mean that consisting about national standard body
Yes.
that develop the standard, and then national accreditation body as what we call it to guarantee the competency of the conformity assessment bodies,
Yes.
and then the other is National Metrology Institute to ensuring every metrology use it to measure to whatever. So this three function is in BSN.
Okay.
The question is whether the standardization and conformity assessment as a national quality infrastructure will be used by
By the
the
ministries.
ministry.
Yeah.
That's out of your hands already. Because you could, well, yeah, because there's a limitation of what you're supposed
Yes,
to.
correct.
And the enforcement actually comes from
Yeah.
up top. So
Well, hopefully these ministries are listening to our talk show, so you guys can collaborate better.
yeah, especially when it comes to something like battery theft. Like
Yeah.
where does that fall under? I mean, this is very interesting to me that people are stealing these EV batteries. They are worth quite a bit of money because they say
Apparently.
about 2/3 of a price of an EV is the battery. That's why people are stealing these batteries.
Are
So-
you
and that-
kidding me, Paul?
Yeah.
2/3
of
the
a price of an EV, whether it's a car or a motorcycle or an electric bike, is the battery itself. That's the largest.
No wonder
It's the-
theft is happening.
Exactly, and that's
I
kind of weird, but
didn't
also
know
I
that.
guess so, right?
Yeah.
So with BSN, I mean, that's out of your scope, right? Because that was
Yeah.
more in regards to security.
Just to tell you about the funny story by myself.
Yeah.
Last Imlek holiday,
Yeah.
I come back to my hometown
Yeah.
to Solo
Yeah.
using the electric vehicle car.
Okay.
Right.
Then I just from Jakarta to Solo is okay.
Yeah.
Every rest area we can choose the what we call it the charging station.
Yes.
But the problem is after come back to Jakarta, if I would like to charge my car, I need to go out from the highway.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all
Because when I stop to the rest area, and then the what we call it the charging station, no.
it was not available.
Then
Oh, no.
I must go to the rest area next.
Yeah.
No again.
Oh
again.
no.
And then you can imagine,
Panic.
no.
No?
I just call and then towing my car.
You ran out of charge. You ran out of battery.
Oh,
there you go.
no.
So we're talking about some necessary more.
So we need ecosystem.
Yes.
Yes.
Not only how can So you might, we have familiar to see the vehicle car, electric vehicle car in Jakarta.
Yeah.
everywhere.
But when we talk about the long distance,
Yeah.
Yes.
so
That's a bit problematic right now.
Yes.
We need solution.
It's a whole other bit of homework as well that needs to be done. But again, we are well on our way, and these are still early stages.
Yes.
So we hope that there's more development in a faster way, because this EV industry is growing like wildfire here.
It is.
Right?
It's exciting at the
No
same
pun
time.
intended on that one. Hendro,
Oh,
thank
dear.
you so much for
Thank
joining
you,
us this morning.
Hendro.
Really do appreciate it. Good luck with the SN as well. in its
Yeah.
future.
thank you.
Thank
Right,
you.
we're set for another commercial break here. But when we return, in case you joined us late, we're going to bring back some of the top headlines from around the world. So do stay with us here on the C Morning Show.
Thank you, Pat.